Chapter 5 Computer Virus. With nightfall, the terrible cold had also returned to Caddick Academy. The boilers still weren't working, and even though the men in black had brought a thermostat with them, they hadn't succeeded in installing it yet, although they had at least managed to fix the generators. Odd, Yumi, and Richard were squatting outside the short lunchroom building, electric lights shining behind them. "Everything isn't fair," grumbled Odd as he wrapped himself up in his jacket. "We're the protagonists of this story. We did everything up until now, all by ourselves, and we made it out fine. And this is what happens when we add parents and teachers into the mix. They think they know everything." "Yeah," Yumi admitted. "They didn't even let us participate in their meeting tonight." Odd glanced at Richard out of the corner of his eye, listening to them completely enveloped in his large coat. He was the only one that had been allowed into the principal's office. It was absurd. Richard had always remained on the sidelines until now, and all just because he was 23. "Can you tell us what Professor Hertz and the men in black decided?" Richard shrugged. His freckled nose emerged from the upturned collar of his coat. "Well," he responded, "they agreed to act tonight. When the students are asleep, Hertz, Walter Stern, and the 3 agents will infiltrate the Hermitage. Your parents will be with them too, Yumi, as well as Jeremy's father, who's going to help Hertz activate the scanner. The objective is to get Aelita out of the mirror and free the others from Lyoko." "What's their plan? They can't leave the school, and it's obvious that they can't attack the barrier separating the house from the school." "They're going underground," explained Richard, "through the sewers." "But we flooded them." "Precisely," the boy said, shrugging again. "The men in black brought a stack of diving equipment. They've practically thought of everything." At that moment, I would have loved to be able to talk to Jeremy. His friend's brain was like a magician's top hat, always bursting with fantastic plans and ingenious ideas. But now, however, he was alone, or rather, he was with Richard and Yumi. They were going to have to cope. "They thought of everything, but they didn't know how many people would go on the mission." "They thought of everything, but they didn't know how many people would go on the mission with them," Yumi reflected. "I mean, they probably brought spare equipment. We could steal it from them and then follow them through the sewers and get to the Hermitage ourselves." Odd observed Yumi with sincere admiration. Now that was a real fantastic idea. They could join the adults' expedition, giving an important contribution to the fight against the Green Phoenix. They just had one problem. "None of us know how to use the oxygen canisters and all those frogman things," he observed. Richard then decided to respond. "Well, you see, actually..." Yes? I'm a scuba diving instructor. It's my favorite pastime." Surprise, Odd looked at the young man from head to toe. A smile then began to spread across his face. Xana was seated on the sofa in the Hermitage's living room. Aelita was snuggled beside him, the mirror command box in one hand and a steaming hot cup of tea in the other. "What's wrong?" he asked. "Nothing," the girl replied. "I'm just a little sad." Her father was dead and her mother had been kidnapped when she was very little, but the message her father had left, as well as the necklace he had left to her, gave her hope that Anthea may still be alive. And when Xana had revealed that the medallion was actually a transmitter, Aelita had felt a small, fragile spark of hope light in her chest. She may be able to get in contact with her. But unfortunately, nothing had happened. Her mother hadn't responded and Aelita's necklace was now dim again. "Maybe my mother is dead too," she thought. "Maybe I really have been left all alone." At that moment, Xana closed his eyes. "Incoming communication," he murmured. "I think it's your friend Jeremy." Aelita leapt up. "Jeremy? But where?" "He's not here. He's at Lyoko's command post, in the old factory. Can I also participate in the conversation? I just need to enter the data flux. It's child's play." Aelita nodded and immediately heard Jeremy's voice in her ear. "Psst, Aelita, can you hear me?" "Jeremy!" cried the girl. "What?" "I need to act fast. It's the middle of the night here and they've left me alone for a minute for the changing the guard, but they'll be here soon." The children quickly updated each other on their respective adventures. Aelita discovered the latest news. Grigory had kidnapped Jeremy and forced him to enter Lyoko, and then come out again to decrypt the codes in Hertz's dossier in Richard's palm computer. She told him everything that she had discovered in the mirror and about the transmitter necklace. "Yes," Jeremy whispered. "Well, you see..." Aelita sensed hesitation in her friend's voice. "See what?" Nothing. I'll tell you another time. Maybe. I just wanted to say hi to you, see if you're doing okay, and tell you that one way or another I will get you out of there." Xana, who had been listening in silence, decided to intervene at this moment. "So Mago has charged you with the task of decrypting the codes. What do you need to do? Activate the code down?" Aelita remembered when Professor Hertz had spoken about the code down. Eva had been present at the time, and Xana had been possessing her. It was obvious he knew everything. According to Hertz, the code down was a very powerful program, capable of permanently destroying the world of Lyoko, deactivating the supercomputer definitely. Could Jeremy be intent on using it? "You're an ally of the Green Phoenix," Jeremy retorted in an icy tone. You shouldn't be afraid of them." "It's true that part of me is associated with the terrorists," Xana confessed to Aelita, "but I'm unfaithful. I don't trust anybody. Hannibal Mago promised to help me become human, and in exchange for the moment I have offered him my collaboration." Aelita heard Jeremy burst out laughing. "Is that what he told you? Mako's nothing but a liar. He lied to you, just like the others. He's not capable of making you human. Nobody's capable of it. Professor Hopper was making progress, Xana protested. I was learning to be like you, but then something happened. Exactly, affirmed Jeremy. And I can tell you exactly what happened. You were infected by a virus. Xana balled his fist. That brat! How dare he treat him this way? He was the lord and master of the virtual world. He was the most complex artificial intelligence man had ever constructed. I found out while studying the First City, explained Jeremy. Hopper created you. He gave you life, you could say, so that in the future you could become the digital equivalent of a human being. That's why Alita went to see you in the First City, to teach you the mystery of human emotions. Alita trusted you and her father. However, he hadn't taken the castle into account. Hopper had activated the firewall, the huge black wall, to isolate the castle and protect it. But he forgot that you were also inside the firewall, and that as a consequence your program codes weren't protected. And to top it all off, you were still growing. You were still just you were just like a child, and your interior barriers weren't yet completely formed. In the end, I think the castle infected you and gave you much greater powers than Hopper originally had in mind for you. But there was a price to pay in exchange. You forgot Alita. You forgot everything except the core of your computer. I haven't been able to access your code, and so I don't have mathematical certainty. But I'm sure that's what happened. Alita's teachings and her friendship left their mark in you, and when you lost them, you felt a void that you tried to fill, in the wrong way, trying to fight against Hopper and blocking out all emotions except for one, hate. Xana felt himself boil with rage. It was a red and brilliant energy that coursed through his child body. He wanted to take the energy from his main entity to disintegrate the mirror and erase this reality forever. Could Jeremy possibly be right? All these problems, this constant fighting with himself, was it all because of a simple computer virus? How did you find out? He asked. Jeremy cleared his throat. I already told you, by studying the First City's operational code. Plus, I linked together all the clues we've found so far in my head. If you think about it for a moment, it all fits. Xana didn't know how to respond. Alita placed a hand on his shoulder. She gave him a smile, warm and friendly. Is there a way to eradicate the virus? Xana then asked. I don't know, Jeremy responded. I don't have access to your program codes. But I have them, exclaimed Xana. I can run an auto-analysis program myself to identify the... Alita slowly shook her head. That's not how humans deal with their problems, she whispered. If you've forgotten your emotions, you can still find them again. And learn to trust your friends. That's what we do. If you'd like, I can give you a hand. Yumi slithered quietly between the shadows in the park, stepping lightly. Here and there she could see lanterns bobbing and swinging in the darkness, footsteps from people on rounds, but she was dressed in black and knew that they wouldn't see her. She continued towards the gymnasium, where the men in black had hidden the crates with all the equipment. In her pocket she had a small piece of paper with a list of things she needed to acquire. I would have given an arm and a leg to be able to join her on this mission, but Yumi had insisted on going alone. She reached one of the bushes on the border of the park. Before her stood the gymnasium, a low and wide building with a large front door that faced towards her. The windows on the sides of the small building were dark. There was someone in front of the large door. Lone Wolf had left one of the agents behind to keep watch. The gymnasium had no other entries, and the windows were closed, but the girl wouldn't be discouraged. She continued to move between the trees, protected by the shadows of the night, skirting the building. She burst out of the bushes and glued her back to the wall like a suction cup. She then began to move silently towards the man. She heard him speaking on the telephone. Yes, Mom. No, but I can't wear a wool jacket. We need to wear scuba suits. Yes, okay, all right. Yumi covered her mouth with her hand to stop herself from laughing. She recognized the voice. It was Ferret, the secret agent that talked somewhat strangely. It would be easy for her to outwit him. Cautiously, Yumi stuck her head around the corner of the wall to take a look. The large door was open, held there by an upside-down lantern on the floor to stop it from closing. No sound could be heard from inside the gymnasium. There must have been nobody in there. At that moment, the man had his back facing her and was holding his phone to his ear, continuing to talk to his mother. Yumi rummaged in her jacket pocket and removed one of the 2 firecrackers that had come directly from Odd's secret reserve for vandalism. She lit the first one with a lighter, threw it so it would land 10 meters from Ferret, and waited. The explosion came a few seconds later, breaking the night's tranquility. Who did that? Yelled the agent in a piercing voice. He then dug into his black vest to take out his gun. Yumi lit the second firecracker and threw it further away. Another explosion. Who goes there? Ferret shouted as he ran towards where the firecracker had exploded. Hands in the air, or I'll shoot! Yumi seized the opportunity to dash between the shadows behind him. She slipped through the open door, took the lantern off the ground, and closed the door behind her. She made it. The gymnasium was empty. The girl used the lantern to illuminate the enormous space. She saw the still green linoleum floor, the posts, the nets, and the asymmetric parallel bars for climbing. She then spotted several crates in the corner. On the cover of each she saw a label revealing its contents. Weapons, climbing, explosives. Finally, Yumi found the underwater exploration crate. Yumi took the list Richard had written out of her pocket. She never would have imagined they'd need so many things to go diving. She needed to get masks and wetsuits, flippers, weights, and self-draining adjustable hydrostatic jackets. And then there were air tanks, of course, and not to mention the dispensing valves, pressure gauges, and depth gauges. Richard had tried to explain to her what each of these things looked like. Yumi threw the lids off the crates and scanned their contents. Everything was much different from what she'd imagined. To start, the masks weren't like the ones she'd always seen in movies. They covered the whole face and seemed imposing and menacing. And then the air tanks, which, instead of being oblong in shape, were celestial blue backpacks coated in plastic. The girl had checked the sizes and found a pair of adequate wetsuits for Odd and herself, and another larger one for Richard. She then looked for the rest of the equipment, and, figuring she might as well, also took 3 knives and underwater lanterns. She heard Ferret bash his fist against the door. "What a stupid prank! And now I'm stuck outside and I'm going to have to call Lone Wolf!" She hadn't much time left. Yumi arranged the contents of the crates so as to cover up the absence of the equipment she'd taken, and then began to take her haul into the storeroom. The girl needed to make 3 trips to transport everything. The diving equipment weighed a ton. Once she was done, she keylocked the storeroom and sent a message to Odd's phone.